We've been publishing FineScale Modeler magazine for more than 40 years now, and we get suggestions for doing all sorts of different things with your models. And one of the things that we've received a lot of suggestions and recommendations for is how to dissolve superglue after you've, used it to stick a part onto your model and then realize, oh my God, that part shouldn't be there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run through some of the most popular recommendations that we've received over the years and even very recently for how to dissolve superglue after you've already applied it. So what we're gonna do is glue these pegs to the styrene sheet with some superglue, and then we're going to use some of the suggestions and recommendations from right over here to dissolve that superglue and see which ones work. Let's start with white vinegar. And this is probably the one I have the least faith in and one that I have never tried before. I am just gonna douse this up here and see what we come up with. I'm going to assume, since it is the least caustic or chemically active, that it's going to take a little bit of time to get going. Yeah, what we'll do is we'll just put that around there for the time being, I think, because she's stuck on there. Why don't we let the vinegar do its thing, and we'll come back to it toward the end of the segment. Let's see what it does. Let's try 91% isopropyl alcohol. Now we know that isopropyl alcohol will take off paint. Well, I'm not seeing a lot of success with the isopropyl alcohol either. We'll put a 91% here and we'll come back to it. Well, the first two, we're not getting a lot of traction. Let's try lighter fluid. Now, this recommendation, it's been around for quite a while. Now, the thing about lighter fluid that we all know is that it evaporates very quickly. And that's what makes it, as many have pointed out to me recently, really good for cleaning up pin washes. But because it evaporates so fast, I'm wondering how effective it is for going after superglue. And I'm not seeing a lot of success there. We've heard that WD-40 will eat superglue. Oh, maybe. Well, now I am not sure if I just forced that off, but it looked like it was starting to give because of the WD-40. Interesting. Actually, I think it's rubbing that away. That might be worth actually going back and testing again. You can see it there, and you can also see the residue that the WD-40 has left. Even though I have tried to wipe it away. So that's going to need a little bit of attention there. WD-40 was interesting. How about acetone? Now, the thing about acetone is this. It's paint remover, and we know that paint removers will eat styrene. So when applying it, do be careful because, well, it could start eating through the plastic. It's definitely eating away at the paint. I can see the plastic card flexing, but it is not seemingly letting that go. And I can also feel that the plastic itself is starting to get gooey. In fact, there you can see that I'm eating into that plastic now with the acetone. The chemical we know will debond superglue is nitromethane. And you can get that from a couple of different sources. The one that, as modelers, you're probably most familiar with is Uncure from Bob Smith Industries. You can also get nitromethane to debond superglue from Starbond, and you can find those at hardware stores. In any case, what we're gonna do is just take this and apply it around. Oh, I didn't know that it would. I didn't know that it would go and clean up the paint, although I shouldn't have been surprised by that. What'll be awesome, there it is. That came off just like the WD-40 did. Now, here you can see underneath there, we can use that to clean up the hardened superglue. Once you have that cleaned up and it's dry, then you can come in with your sanding stick or your sanding sponge or your sandpaper and just give it the final cleanup so that all of this is smooth and there's no hint that the glue had been there. What I do want to do is come back and revisit some of these other ones that we had put on earlier. Now, the vinegar, obviously we've been letting that sit this entire time, and I would say that that's probably not going to come off there of its own accord. The 91% alcohol, yeah, it's still on there pretty tight. This lighter fluid, I'm pretty sure is just, it all evaporated. So without, putting more on there. And then finally the acetone, I mean, again, I can yank on this. Let's just, for the sake of saying, I can just, oh. Holy cow, maybe the acetone made it stick more. There we go. All right. So I was able to break it off, right? But that's not dissolving the superglue. So from our little experiment, which is hardly exhaustive, and I know you guys and gals are out there and like, well, I use X, Y, or Z, and I have for many years, and it works very well for me. And that is not to say that it isn't working for you. But what I am going to say is if we really want to debond superglue, your best bet is to go and get a bottle of Uncure or another nitromethane superglue debonder and not necessarily mess around with the homegrown products that some people may suggest really work. Again, not saying that they don't, but your nitromethane debonders are going to be your best bet for dissolving superglue. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.